Welcome to the Magistrate hearing for May 28th, 2025. At the onset, I have reviewed the minutes from the April 23rd, 2025 meeting and have approved those. Before we go into the swearing in, just a general process for everyone here. We will, in just a moment, have anyone who is going to testify today or speak on an item stand up and be sworn in by our clerk. We will then go through some old business, so those are those who are returning for an update and an action. Then we'll go through new business. For each item, we will have a presentation by city staff. We will ask if the property owner is here. We'll ask if any other member of the public wishes to speak to an item, and then we will form a decision and go from there. And so each case we will call by the case number and the address. So when it gets to that case, just pay attention and pop up if you would like to provide any testimony or evidence. Before we get started, just a note, let me see here. Case number CCSM 0810-2024, that's 305 Julia Street, will be taken off this agenda. It will come back in July, either here or Code Board. So just making that note, and we will skip that one for today. At this time, let's have a swearing in of everyone who will provide testimony.
Please stand and raise your right hand and state your full name. In the matter to which you are about to give testimony, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? The witnesses have been sworn in.
Thank you, everyone. All right, starting with old business, the first case is CCSM 0258-2024 at 824 Downing Street.
Okay, this is 824 Downing Street. This property zoned R2, single-family residential. Code cited is NSB Code 26171, permits required. This case was originally found to be in non-compliance by the Special Magistrate on May 29th, 2024. This case was continued several times over the past year, including to the April 23rd, 2025 hearing, where the Special Magistrate again found the property in non-compliance of NSB Code 26171 and gave a new compliance date of May 15th, 2025. The property owner, Mr. Steppenbach, had a choice at that time of getting a demo permit for the building in place or a building permit to gain compliance. Mr. Steppenbach now has a building permit in the works with the building department here in New Smyrna to move the building 6 feet to the west to accommodate the setbacks. The board order was posted on the property on April 29th, 2025. The board order was certified mailed to the property owner, and according to the U.S. Postal Service, it's still in transit. So with him getting the permit in process, it's my recommendation to find to the Special Magistrate to find the owner, Casey John Steppenbach, in compliance, as there's a permit he's got going to move this building. However, if the owner does not follow through with getting the building permit issued, a new case could be created, and the owner would then be looked at as a repeat offender and may be subject to having higher fines.
Noted. All right. Perfect. Thank you for that. Does the property owner wish to speak?
He wasn't coming today since we were doing in compliance.
Got it. Okay, well then just for the record, I will note again, I agree that based on the testimony provided, that we will find the property currently in compliance as of May 28th, 2025. There was a prior notice of violation, so any failure to comply with that permit or a future violation would be treated as a repeat violation before this board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on old business is CCSM 0280-2024, address 2506 Milton Avenue.
Good afternoon. This case number is CE-0280-2024. Property location is 2506 Milton Avenue. On March 26, 2025, the Special Magistrate continued the case until May 28, 2025 to give Mr. Perham time to get the required drawings to submit for the permit application. On March 31st, 2025, the board order was posted on the property, and a copy of was also certified mailed to the property owner. The certified mail was accepted on April, not sure of the exact date, but it was accepted in April of 2025. I believe it was around the 5th. Since the last hearing, Mr. Perham has kept in contact with me. We also met in the building department to go over some of the information to make sure that he was going to have everything ready to submit for his permit. On May 15th, 2025, Mr. Perham called to inform me that he had submitted the required permit package. The permit is currently in the review process. The building department followed up with him today to let him know that it's still in the process to go through for everybody to review his permit. So my recommendation is to have Mr. Perham and/or entity found in compliance with the permit process, and in the event that he does not follow through to meet the land development regulations and meet all the required inspections, then he would be subject to a repeat fine. I feel that this is appropriate for Mr. Perham. He's been in constant touch with me. He's worked with the building department. So I just feel that this is the appropriate action to take.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Is the property owner present, and would you like to speak? Perfect. Does anyone else from the public wish to speak on this item? No? Okay. Well, then, based on the evidence provided in the testimony at this hearing, we will find that the property is currently in compliance as of May 28th, 2025, provided that the permit conditions are met and that the property is found in compliance with the Land Development Code, with the note that any violation of the same code will be treated as a repeat violation if it occurs within 5 years and may be brought back for immediate treatment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Our next item is CCSM 0638-2024, address 103 North Orange Street.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
On 4/23/2025, the special magistrate continued this case until today's hearing. The property owner, Peggy W. Garriques, and her entity in violation of Section 26-171A permits and was given until 5/28/2025 to bring the property into full compliance. If the special magistrate found that the violations were not corrected by this date, a fine of $50 a day shall be imposed for each day the violation exists. And the board order was posted to the property on 4/29/2025. The board order was mailed certified mail to the property owner and was signed for and accepted on May 5th, 2025 at 4:29 p.m. To date, the permit is in the resubmittal status. I called and spoke with the owner of the construction company who took over the job in order to help the property owner get an after-the-fact permit. During this phone call, I informed them, or him, that the status was changed from the in-review status to a resubmittal required status. However, after that call, I never saw any status change, nor have I had any further contact with this construction company or the property owner. It's a staff's recommendation to the board to fine Peggy W. Garriques and her entity in violation of Section 26-171 Alpha and given until 7/11 to bring the property into full compliance. If the owner does not bring the property into full compliance, it's the staff's recommendation to impose a fine of $50 a day until brought into compliance.
Got it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Is the property owner here, and do they wish to speak? They're not? Okay. Does any member of the public wish to speak to this item? Okay. Based on the evidence provided and the testimony on the record, we will find that the property is currently in violation of Section 26-171A, permits required. We will order that the property bring the property into compliance by July 11th, 2025 at 1 p.m. It will be the property owner's obligation to notify the code inspector and request a reinspection to determine compliance. If the property is found still not in compliance as of that date, a fine of $50 per day for each section that remains in violation may be imposed, and this property will return for a hearing on July 21st, 2025 at 2 p.m.
Thank you.
What did I say? Oh, it's right in there. July 23rd, if I misquoted. That
Oh,
is
there you
because
go.
it is my mother's birthday. All right, the next item is CCSM 0715-2024, 4393 South Seamus Drive.
This will also include the CCSM 0016-2025. They're the same. It was one parcel that was split into two.
Got it?
On 3/26/2025, the special magistrate found Imagine Operations LLC, South Sea Mist 4393 Land Trust and/or entity in violation of LDR 604.051 tree preservation and gave until 5/5/2025 to bring the property into full compliance. If the special magistrate found that the violations were not corrected by this date, then the building permits for both residential single-family homes shall not be issued until 442 trees at 4 inches in diameter with an average cost of $250 per tree, equaling the total of $110,500, has been donated to the Land Development Conservation, as well as a set number of those trees were to be donated and planted between both parcels. The trees have to be at least 4 to 6 inches caliper trees of similar species, which were previously removed from both parcels. Lot 1 had 20 trees removed, and Lot 2 had 18, equaling a total of 38 trees that were removed without a permit. The board order was certified mailed to the property owner, and was signed for and accepted on 4/5/2025, and the board order was posted to the property on 4/2/2025. To date, nothing has been done to correct this violation. I will have to go back and make changes to that only because I did get a phone call and I had to pass it along to Channing. And he then just made contact, I guess, with the property owner yesterday. It shouldn't affect anything, but there has been communication, so that I just was, aware of as coming into here. But it is the staff's recommendation to the magistrate to issue an order in which consists of the certificate or certificates of occupancy not being issued to either single-family home at either parcel until the property owner meets the requirements of the board order. And so I know that we had to make some changes. It was the building permit portion of it had to be changed. Instead, we're going to go with and again, this case is not something we usually typically go over. So there's a few changes that had to be made. And one of them is that the certificate of occupancy is now what we're going to use in order to make sure that he needs to meet the requirements of what we're asking, then that can be issued. So that's kind of what we're using as leverage at this point.
And on that point, I'm assuming there is a reason why it can't be tied to the permit. Is it that they need the permit to do the work prior to CO, or?
After speaking with the building official, he was not comfortable tying it to the building permit. However, something else to consider, and it may require the order be rewritten, is a landscape plan being submitted along with the building permit so that they can accommodate these trees that need to be planted back on there. So something else to possibly consider to add to this enforcement is a landscape plan being submitted along with the building and site plan.
I would like to do that. I want to avoid the circumstance where they later say you issued a building permit, we have a vested right to have the house, et
So
cetera.
I think if we tied any building permit or site plan must be accompanied with the landscape plan to include the trees that must be planted, that would prevent any building being erected otherwise.
We can work on that. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. For either of these, so 4393 or
4395 is the other one.
4395, thank you.
You're
I'll say we have two of the same here, so we'll correct that. Is the property owner here and would you wish to speak? No?
Don't believe so, but I know that there are people here to speak that are neighboring properties.
I say, does any member of the public wish to speak on this item? If you want to come forward and state your name and address for us.
Good afternoon. My name is David Reed, 4392 South Seamus Drive. And just as far as myself, my wife, and all of our other neighbors that have cared a lot about this, just want to extend a very sincere thank you to everybody. What you all just discussed about tying the landscape plan and site plan to the actual CO or building permit was exactly what I was going to suggest in addition to what Jason had corresponded with me about. And just want to just say a very heartfelt thank you very much. We appreciate it all. And for a very unfortunate situation, I feel like going forward, this is the best outcome that could be expected. So thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Steve Knott, 4391 South Seamith, just adjacent to it. I was reading it through my phone and having difficulty, the order that you were giving. I was under the understanding that you were asking for 20 trees per lot. And as I read what I could read through the phone, it seemed to indicate 20 trees in total. And I might have misunderstood you, but that was my understanding. I just wanted to make sure that the order was written, because the damage was significant.
Certainly.
And I'd also like to second what Dave said. We really appreciate your help and your support on this issue. And everything that I can see, including the fact that they're not here right now, is bad faith with them. And I personally would recommend making the release of the permit contingent on some assurances or some escrow money or something, because I don't think that they know what they've gotten themselves into. I don't think they're very sophisticated or very knowledgeable in what they did. They certainly, weren't showing any consideration to the city or to the neighbors in the way they approached the project. So, again, thank you for your help. And was I correct on the 20 trees per lot?
The former order was 20 trees per parcel. I think we've changed the wording here to kind of rely on the staff review process, but that's what was discussed.
But
Yep.
So that would mean 20 in each, is that correct?
Per parcel. Yep.
Great. And there's also some more trees I think they're going to have to take down to build the houses that I mentioned to Jason. So hopefully that's something he'll pull a permit for.
I certainly hope he gets a permit for it.
Got his attention. Thanks for your help.
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay. So then just to that question, I do see the wording has changed, and we will, when I try to word this, we'll pull in the landscape plan requirement.
Okay.
It's noted right now in the order that the number of trees for both parcels equate to 38 trees with a value of $110,759. Do we want to quantify replacement or just say we're going through the mitigation process? And that's
So if Channing wants to speak on that behalf, I know 38 trees, I believe, is what was
Removed.
taken down,
Right.
right? And to replace them by the standards of what the city has, that's where we have that higher number of the 442, but I'll let Channing go ahead and explain.
perfect.
So the calculation was based on those 38 trees removed. So initially it was 38 trees for the total parcel. When they split it, then we reviewed the proposed lots, lot 1 and lot 2. And that's where we broke down 20 trees on one, 18 on the other. And the replacement criteria is based on cross-sectional area. So it's not to say, if they choose to donate a larger tree, there will be less trees donated.
Sure.
If they choose to donate the bare minimum of 2.5-inch trees, there will be a greater number of trees donated to the city. But essentially that total number will be less the 20 trees per lot at 4 to 6 inches. So if they go to, again, there's a new calculation that'll have to be determined at that time.
Sure.
But I have denied, I was in the review queue for these parcels and I've denied them because they haven't submitted their landscape plan to show that.
Perfect.
But again, having that tied to the magistrate order, I think is appropriate because then it says, hey, we do need this to achieve your next step, in which that would be the actual building permit process.
Got it. Perfect. Okay, so, and thank you for that. That was my understanding. I want to make sure the neighbors are understanding as well, that each lot will be reviewed. We've set a minimum of 4 to 6 inches, which is above your standard minimum.
Correct.
So they'll be upsized, and the calculation of those trees, it may not be 20 on the nose, because they could do a much larger, so that it takes faster, but overall, the mitigation requirement is the total number.
Correct.
Yeah, perfect. All right, thank you. We will do these one at a time, but they should be identical. So the first one is for CCSM 0715-2024 for 4393. We will find the property is in violation of LDR 604051, tree preservation. Having come before the special magistrate for a final hearing on May 28th, 2025, and considering the testimony and evidence provided, we will find that any building permit or site plan issued for the property must be accompanied with a landscape plan illustrating the tree mitigation shall be met on the site. No certificate of occupancy for the property shall be issued until compliance is achieved by the property owners meeting the requirements set forth and placed by the planning department, which will be outlined further in the order and as discussed. And it is the respondent's burden to request a reinspection to determine whether compliance is achieved after the date of this order. And I will make the same finding for CCSM 0615-2025 for 4395. And I don't think I need to repeat it all. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just make some notes here before we go to the next one. Okay. Our next case is CCSM 0071-2025 for 206 Flagler Avenue.
On 3/26/2025, the board found 206 Flagler Property LLC and/or entity in violation of Section 26-171A permits and gave until 5/5/2025 to bring the property into full compliance. If the board found that the violations were not corrected by this date, a fine of $100 a day shall be imposed for each day the violation exists. The board order was mailed certified mail to the property owner and was signed for and accepted on 4/16/2025 at 2:57 p.m. The board order was posted on the property on 4/2/2025. To date, the property owner has applied for the needed permits and is currently in the review process. It's the staff's recommendation to the board to continue this case to the July 23rd, 2025 hearing. And this should allow adequate time to obtain the necessary permits. If the necessary permits aren't obtained by this time, then the special magistrate should impose a fine of $100 a day commencing on 5/5/2025 and continue until the property is brought into full compliance. Fine not to exceed the maximum amount of $20,000.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is the property owner in attendance and would they like to speak? Okay. Does any member of the public wish to speak on this item? Okay. Hearing none, based on the evidence in the record and the testimony provided, we will continue this case until the July 23rd, 2025 special magistrate hearing for resolution and potential imposition of a fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is our last old business, so we will move on to new business. We will skip over those noted as withdrawn as we go through, but the first new business is CCSM 0480-2024, 309 Murray Street.
Case number CCSM 0480-2024. Property location is 309 Murray Street. This property is Zone B3, Highway Safe Service Business. On June 10th, 2024, Code Compliance received a complaint regarding wastewater being discharged from the building behind the property. The water discharges onto the neighbor's property and creates weeds and vines and decay to his wooden fence. He also complained about the overall condition of the property. On June 21st, 2024, an inspection was conducted and the property was found to be in violation of Sections 26-171A permits required for a rear porch with metal roof and walls. Section 26-914, subsection 8, maintenance, landscaping, overgrown grass, weeds, vines, bushes, etc., and IPMC 304.2, protective treatment, chipped and peeling paint, and discoloration on exterior walls. On March 26, 2025, a notice of violation was posted on the property with an initial compliance date of April 15th, 2025. A copy was also mailed certified to the property owner and was signed for and accepted on March 28th, 2025. On May 28th, 2025, a follow-up inspection showed that the violations still exist. There is no permit application submitted for the rear porch, metal roof, and walls. The property appears to be unchanged. There's chipped and peeling paint, discoloration on the exterior walls, and the grass, weeds, bushes, and vines are overgrown, although some of it has been cleaned up. It is my recommendation that the special magistrate find Marion Jill Dempsey and/or entity in violation of Sections 26-171A, permits required, Sections 26-914, subsection 8, maintenance, and IPMC 304.2, protective treatment, and give until June 18th, 2025 to bring the property into full compliance. And if the owner does not come into compliance, it is my recommendation to impose a fine in the amount of $25 per day per violation until the property is brought into full compliance, and the fine amount not to exceed $20,000.
This case, the unofficial start of the complaint was June of 2024, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And the official notice went out in December of 2024.
Yes.
And has there been any communication with the property owner on status?
Yes. I guess she was out of the country for a little while, but just recently returned and made contact with me. Some of the stuff, as I said, was cleaned up, and I have some photos just from this morning.
Sure. Thank you. Perfect. And we'll give this a copy to the clerk to make sure we have that in the record. Okay. Well, your presentation covered most of my other questions. It may be hard to tell without their input. The picture that was just on the screen, and it'll cycle through again, the discharge from the home, it's noted as wastewater. That's not just normal water. Do we know where that's coming from?
Was coming from a washing machine.
Okay, so gray water.
But supposedly that's been fixed.
Okay.
Because the property owner is here in the office, and she had some photos. Said that it was fixed.
And would any changes to that structure and fixing that would have required permits?
In my opinion, yes.
Okay. Got it. We can review. Perfect. Thank you. You've answered my questions. Is the property owner here and wishing to speak on this item? So if you will come forward, state your name and address for the record, and provide any testimony you would like us to consider.
Hi. My name's Jill Dempsey, and I own the property at 307 and 309 Murray Street. Well, 2 years ago, my husband passed. He was a contractor, and we own some rental properties, and so he usually took care of all of this stuff. The beginning of the year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I left the country. I was in Italy for all of March and April. There was paperwork delivered to the property and to my office. They say it was signed for, but it wasn't signed for by me because I wasn't here. I got a text saying, hey, we got some paperwork from the property. They didn't know anything about it. One of the tenants there is in a relationship with me where he's supposed to maintain the yard, which obviously he hasn't done. So when I got back from Italy on the 27th of April, I had somebody go out and do the yard. I was kind of surprised you said there was no change in the yard.
No, she said there were minor
okay.
upgrades.
I had a challenge here and everything back there. So the back porch, there's three buildings. Well, okay. Well, first of all, I'll address that. The property behind me on Mary Street had a fence down that after Hurricane Ian, it blew the fence down. There was a pool. The pool was empty of water, but, empty pools are never empty of water. There's just enough, for a toddler to drown. So I wrote a letter to the owner and said, hey, I'm not one to go to code enforcement. I just want you to know because I know you don't live there and blah, blah, blah. So, of course, they filed a complaint. They put the fence up. They saw water coming out, which, they could have called me, but they didn't. So they filed a complaint about this. And so I contacted the guy that was doing the yard that was supposed to be, weed trimming and mowing, whatever, and said, can you check this out? There shouldn't be water coming out. So he told me it was done. Again, I wasn't here. I thought it was taken care of. I came back. I go in there. My husband was also a plumbing contractor, so I don't know a lot, but I know a little bit. And the hose, the drain hose from the washer was in the wrong pipe. So I just showed her, I have a picture of it. It's been rectified. If she goes over there now and runs the washer, there's no water coming out the back. The back porch, which had a washer, dryer, water heater, after, I don't know which hurricane, Ian or Nicole, had peeled off half of the metal roof. It was this makeshift kind of shed thing built up on blocks. And the washing machine was basically falling through the floor because of rotted wood. So the guy that has always done all my husband's work went over there and replaced all the old wood with new wood, replaced the roof with new corrugated metal. It's not even attached to the building. I didn't think we needed a permit, but since I got the paperwork when I got back from Italy that said I am required to have a paperwork, I have these drawings done of the shed, which is built like Fort Knox. It's kind of like a pier where the pilings are driven like, 4 feet down in the ground, so it's not going anywhere. It's way better than it was, for sure. But I have these drawings that I just got this morning that will go over to Nagley in D-Land to be engineered, and I'll get a permit. The front porch, I don't know what you call it, the roof of the front porch was also seriously damaged by the hurricane. So when my guy was doing the back porch, he took that off, anticipating to replace it. His house in Islesboro flooded, so he raised that. He's, been working on picking up a house off the ground. So basically I need until, I just did a 2-story duplex behind my office over on the beach side on Golden Court. And between the permitting process and all the back and forth I had to go through with the insurance company, it took 18 months. It was a big job. That's done. It's fabulous. This is not that big of a job, but it's not a job that's going to be done in 2 or 3 weeks. I need until the end of the summer. The porch is already done, so that's a non-issue. I saw some pictures of weeds or whatever, so, this is summertime. You could pull up a chair and watch them grow, but, I'll have that done. But I have to have new drawings for the cover of that porch. I have to have new drawings for the stairs. Have them engineered and have them permitted. So I need till the end of the summer. It's just going to take some time, or we're going to come back and I'm going to say I need another month, I need another 2 weeks. But I'm here, I'm working on it, and that's all I got.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Did you want me to take these?
Does any other member of the public,
I can email these to
Yeah.
you.
does any other member of the public wish to speak to this item? Okay, seeing none. Based on the review, and I do understand that some of the items that require permitting may take longer, but there are some easy punch list items here. The peeling paint, the yard, the stairs on the front of the structure, that are more repair work and would show kind of a good faith step towards compliance. So what I'm going to recommend, and I will do the order in a moment, is I would like to see movement. We will be coming back and checking in. This board does not meet in June, so that is helpful a bit. But it has been this way almost for a year now. And so I would like to put some pressure on getting action and getting it moving, understanding that there were some other aspects. So what we are going to do is we're going to find the property is currently in violation of section 26-171A, permits required, 26-914-8, maintenance, and IPMC 304.2, protective treatment. We are going to ask that the property be brought into compliance by July 1st, 2025, and notify the code inspector and request a reinspection to determine compliance. You will return to a hearing on July 23rd, 2025 at 2 p.m. To discuss compliance in progress, at which time we can review the potential for a fine to be implemented of $25 a day for each section of the code that remains in violation. Although I will note that depending on the progress made and the status of the permit drawings, we would like to hear about those updates and would be open to discussing the needed time to finalize those if they are almost complete. So I would tweak this order, but that will be what we do. So this will return on July 23rd, 2025. The next two items were withdrawn, and so that brings us to item 5D, CCSM 0681 2024 at 1219 Beacon Street.
That one was withdrawn as well.
Oh. Perfect. Never mind, that one's also withdrawn. 5E is not withdrawn. CCSM 0791 2024, 520 South Peninsula Avenue.
Case number CCSM 0791-2024, property location is 520 South Peninsula Avenue, Unit 1C6. This property is zoned R4, multifamily residential. On October 30th, 2024, Code Compliance received a complaint regarding a structure of some type built over a drainage area without a permit. On November 5th, 2024, an inspection was conducted and the property was found to be in violation of section 26-171A, permits required. On April 30th, 2025, a notice of violation was posted on the property with an initial compliance date of May 5th, 2025. A copy was also mailed certified mail to the property owner, but the USPS tracking website shows that it is being returned to sender unclaimed. On May 28, 2025, a follow-up inspection showed an application for a permit was submitted on January 23, 2025. The permit application went through the review process, and on January 27th, the building plans reviewer requested additional information to be submitted. On May 13th, 2025, the respondent submitted what was required or what was requested. After speaking with the plans reviewer, he told me that because the structure is a wood structure under a condominium, the fire department would have to do a plan review as well. The fire department plan reviewer commented yesterday. Permit does not indicate if this is commercial or residential. Site plan needs to be submitted to show location measurements. So anyways, it's still in violation as of today. It is my recommendation that the special magistrate find William E. Schrock and/or entity in violation of Section 26-171, permits required, and give until June 13th, 2025 to bring the property into full compliance. If the owner does not come into compliance, it is my recommendation to impose a fine in the amount of $50 per day until the property is brought into full compliance. The fine amount not to exceed $25,000.
Perfect. On the fire review comment that you have so far, for the overall permit drawings, does it sound like something is missing and they need more dimensions, or that it just kind of wasn't transferred over correctly, or do you have a thought?
I don't, because the original plans examiner didn't sign off on his portion of it.
Sure.
He just transferred it over to fire, so I'm not exactly sure what all is going on at that time. I did leave a message and didn't get a response back, so.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Is the property owner present, and would you like to speak to this item? Yep. If you'll come forward and just announce your name and affiliation with the property.
Hello, I'm William Schrock, owner at 520 South Peninsula, Unit 1C6. So there was a few holdups in this. One was a homeowners association approval. That's part of why it took until January, and I was out of the country as well. Came back. They finally voted on it. Didn't even need it. It came out at the end. They grandfathered it in. Said I don't need it, an approval. So I applied for the permit. Do a lot of traveling for my job during the week. Finally got back. I got the, they asked a request for fasteners for the building, and so I tried to do that online and actually do it. Couldn't do it. I tried 2 different times. Came back, talked to the ladies at the building department. They said that I was blocked. I couldn't do it online. I said, okay. So she said, oh, you could have called and done it. I'm like, well, they asked me to do it online, so that's what I tried. So this just happened recently. So finally, I got it in there. I haven't even got that any response from them yet.
The fire comment.
Sure. From building department, fire department, anything as far as that need to go further. So that's new to me, brand new. So, but I don't know if June is enough time to get this all approved. When I spoke with the head building department, he said everything looks fine. He just wants, and then, so I don't think it's going to be an issue once I get the permit to get the approval or whatever. It's just getting all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So, but if a little bit more time would be helpful, just to make sure I have enough, because I'm not here hardly at all during the week because of work. So it's difficult for me.
With the permit application that was submitted, did it include dimension drawings?
It did, and some photographs of it as well. So, So yeah.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that.
All right.
Yeah. So then this site, and no need to answer, I'm just rambling to myself. The permit's in process. Once it's issued, that is compliance, right? I would say unless there are permit conditions that come out from that. And so I think we're in the same situation here where we're not meeting in June, so we will be going to July 23rd. So we can, from a technical perspective, it's just going to be when, we come back to the hearing. But I think in order to reflect just giving enough time, we'll match this one to the July 1st compliance date. And have you come back on the July 23rd hearing for review to see if that permit's been issued. It gives you a little bit more time if fire has any comments that need to be resolved, if you can get those back in. So what we will do is we will find that based on the evidence provided in the testimony at this hearing, the property is currently in violation of Section 26-171A, permits required. The property shall be brought into compliance by July 1st, 2025 at 1 p.m. Shall notify the code inspector and request a reinspection to determine compliance. If we find that they were not corrected by the date, a fine of $50 per day for each section of the violation may be imposed, not to exceed a maximum of $25,000. And we will have this case returned to the July 23rd, 2025 magistrate hearing at 2 p.m. Thank you. All right, and that should bring us to 5F was pulled. That should bring us to our last new business, which is CCSM 0127-2025, 720 South Dixie Highway.
Afternoon, Magistrate.
Afternoon.
The address is 720 South Dixie Freeway, case number CCSM 0127-2025. This property is Zone B3 Highway Service Business. The violation cited was 26-171, permits required, 38-31, storage, 70-5, boxes, barrels, similar materials on sidewalks or streets, right-of-ways. On March the 6th, 2025, I observed signs in the right-of-way as well as vehicles appearing to be inoperable on the property. I also had been dealing with the permitting issues for various businesses located on the parcel. This is a multi-business parcel. A check of the permit system found work that had taken place without permits and several permits that had outstanding issues such as expired or resubmittal required. The property was found to be in violation of section 26-171, 38-31, and 70-5. On April the 9th, 2025, a notice of violation was posted on the property with an initial compliance date of April the 14th, 2025. A copy was also mailed certified mail to the property owner and was signed for and accepted on April the 11th, 2025. There have been numerous emails, phone calls, and discussions with the property owner regarding the violations. I have made several changes to the compliance date for the associated cases. There were about 3 or 4 cases that involved this property. Those are all in compliance at this time, but there were multiple cases for this one parcel. I have made several changes to the compliance date for the associated cases and delayed the hearing several times. As of April the 14th, 2025, all violations for the parcel had been corrected except for the section 26-171. There were expired permits that required attention. Note, one was a fire sprinkler permit that had expired back in April the 22nd, 2024, which is a possible life safety issue. And there were other permits that were still in status of just fees due for this property as well. On May the 27th, 2025, yesterday, I was able to confirm through an email in the building department that all of the current permits that are now in a valid status. Due to the amount of code violations and code cases involving the property and the violation of section 26-171 for the parcel, and the amount of opportunities that were given to the property owner to bring the property into compliance, is staff's recommendation the magistrate find Orchard Holdings, LLC, and/or entity in violation of 26-171, as noted in the notice of violation, with a finding of non-compliance between April the 14th, 2025, and May 23rd, 2025, with no fine. The finding of non-compliance after the compliance date of April the 14th, 2025 is for the purpose of potential future violations of section 26-171, as the owner has demonstrated a history of violating this section repeatedly in the past.
Noted. Perfect. Thank you. That answered my questions that I had. And the permit review for everything being valid includes the permit that was required for the wall between the two businesses.
Everything has been issued. Everything is in a valid state at this time, yes.
Perfect. Is the property owner present, and would you like to speak on this item?
The property owner did advise me that he could have a representative here if necessary. I told him that was his choice, whether he wanted to or not, but I advised him in advance of what my recommendation would be, that there would be no fine, my recommendation for no fine, but only a finding of noncompliance between those dates.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. Great. Well, then, based on the evidence in the record and the testimony provided, we will find that the property was in violation of Section 26-171A, permits required from April 14th, 2025 to May 14th, 2025, or till May 23rd, 2025, apologies, that as of May 24th, 2025, the property is in compliance, and that any violation of the same code within 5 years may be treated as a repeat violation, where the special magistrate may impose a fine of up to $500 per day for each violation that exists.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, that is our last new business, and then we will move to lien amnesty applications. So our first one here is LA 0001 2025 for the Magnolia parcel.
Okay, so this is for Magnolia Drive, parcel number 734403003900. It's a vacant piece of property. Thomas A. Britton Jr. submitted a lien amnesty request to the special magistrate to consider leniency for the lien filed by the city against the property located at the Magnolia Drive location in New Smyrna Beach. The unpaid city lien totals $20,048.20. That's including the interest through the last day of this month. A little bit of background. The notice of hearing was posted on 4/29/2025. The certified mail was accepted on May 5th, 2025. On September 22nd, 2021, the property was found in violation of Volusia County Code Section 72-834, subsection 2, general prohibitions, the removal of any trees without first obtaining a tree removal permit from the county forester, as herein provided in Section 72-836. Tree permit application requirements, and was given until October 11th, 2021 to bring the property into full compliance. On October 27th, 2021, the property remained in violation of the board order. A fine of $50 per day was imposed commencing on October 11th, 2021. The property is currently in compliance. He obtained the permit several days later, years later. The property was brought into compliance on February 24th, 2023. At that point, the fine was capped at $15,000. Just from the property value is $40,222, and was only one lien on the property. I did update the schedule with the violation date of 10/11/2021 with the compliance date of February 24th, 2023. The total days of noncompliance was 501 days. Taken into consideration, what is allowed for this property would be that he is the violator and the owner of the property, so there could take 25% into consideration, which would be $5,012.05. We could also take into consideration 10%, which would total $2,004.82. And with no previous case history, there's a 20% possible reduction of $4,009.64. The total possible lien reduction is $11,026.51 with a minimum lien amount of $9,021.69. Sorry, I got ants in here. So my recommendation is to reduce the fine to the $9,021.69. Again, that was taking into consideration the reductions mentioned, the 25% for the violator, 10% for complying within 1 to 3 years, and 20% for no previous case history. The adjustments are made on the guidelines adopted by the City Commission. Mm-hmm. And also, whatever amount is approved, the total amount would have to be paid within 15 business days to the city.
Perfect. That covered my questions. Is the property owner here, and would you like to speak to the item? If you'll come forward, state your name. Hello?
So yeah, that is correct. I had someone cut trees down
Sure.
that were growing into the power lines. My only thing was I never knew I was getting fined until it reached the max. So I live in Pittsburgh. I don't live in town, so I had no idea what was going on. And I did not receive the first certified letter.
Okay.
So, but I like the numbers much better. we can do better, I think.
And just looking through the record, so when you said you live out of town, you weren't aware of the fine,
Correct.
and that's why it took 3 years to come into compliance?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you become aware of the fine?
2022.
Okay. That's when the claim of lien was recorded against the property.
I'm sorry.
Is that when it was recorded against the property? Or how
That's when I got a letter actually mailed, not certified letter,
Okay.
to my house.
In Pittsburgh?
Correct.
Okay. I see. So the way that this is structured, as you can see, is the recommendation
Okay.
based on the different factors that they review.
Right.
Here, it was applying for a permit, so I understand it may have gotten, lost in translation timing-wise and getting the notice to you. Are you comfortable if this amount is approved with the payment within the 15 days?
Yeah, I'm fine
That's
with that,
required?
yeah.
Okay.
Unless you can do a little bit lower, that'd be even better.
Noted.
Just asking.
Yeah. All right, thank you. And in terms of the former mailings at the time of the violation, do we know if it was,
The property was posted, so there's people that live around there. I'm sure he knows some of the neighbors that could have contacted him. The certified mail was mailed to the address on the Volusia County Property Appraiser website. So we followed all the regulations that we need to follow to have jurisdiction over the cases.
I was saying, I see that the property appraiser address is the Pennsylvania one. I don't know if it was 3 years ago, but that is right now. Okay, perfect, thank you. Well then, based on the evidence and the factors for guidance set forth by the City Commission, I agree with staff's recommendation of the 55% reduction of the lien to the total new lien amount of $9,021.69 to be paid within 15 days to the city, or it will revert back to the full amount.
Thank you.
The next lien review is LA 0004-2025 at 1650 South Atlantic Avenue.
Yes, this property is located at 1650 South Atlantic Avenue, New Smyrna Beach. I'm really not sure how to pronounce the investment name. LLC. I have met with the property owner, Nick Patel, several times, which he has submitted a lien amnesty request for the special magistrate to consider the leniency for the lien filed by the city of the property located at 1650 South Atlantic Avenue, New Smyrna Beach. The unpaid city liens total $28,444.36. This is including interest through the end of the May. The property was posted with a notice of hearing on April 29th, 2025. Certified mail was accepted on May 5th, 2025. Property was found in violation of City Code Section 26914.3, 26914.6, 26914.9, 26914.10, and 26914.12 on September 27th, 2023, and given until October 18th, 2023. At the second hearing on October 25th, 2023, the property remained in violation as of October 18th, 2023, and a fine in the amount of $25 per day per violation was imposed on sections 26914.3, 6, 10, and 12, with the fine commencing on October 18th, 2023. The fine was capped at $25,000. The property is currently in compliance. The property was brought into compliance on April 18th, 2025. So with the lien being capped at $25,000, the interest was $3,444.86, with a lien total of $28,444.86. Taking into consideration first-time violators, a 25% would be $7,111.22. Complying within 1 to 3 years, a 10% would be $2,844.49. And with no previous case history, 20% of $5,688.97. So the new minimum lien amount would be $12,800.19, which would be my recommendation to the special magistrate. And again, the reduction factors taken into consideration were the 25% for first-time violator, 10% for complying with 1 to 3 years, and 20% for no previous case history. The adjustments were made on the guidelines adopted by City Commission, and the total amount would need to be paid within 15 business days.
Perfect. Thank you. Is the property owner here, and would you like to speak to this item? You come forward, just state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Nikunj Patel. You can call me Nick. It's probably easier. So on this property, we purchased it back in 2020, and in the 2023, we had a small violation, and I did spoke with the code enforcement at that time, and we went to the property, and we thought everything was clear. She said she was going to, we were back to the normal. But then I got the notice that we were still in the violation of the same violation that we did corrected with a different officer, not her. I forgot her name. So my question is, like, why did things came back again if we did walk through it and clear all the code compliance back in 2023? And ever since I got the notice of the lien and all of that, because my bank told me about the lien, and I've been in contact with the code enforcement, and she's been helping me and really trying to get this back to normal. And so I was in assumption back in 2023 when I had a meeting with the code enforcement at the property that everything was in compliance.
Okay.
So from that point on, I never got anything else after that,
Do you have any evidence, emails, check-ins that show that you were checking them off that they were in compliance before the date and the record?
I was usually call them. Even she knows I always call her to meet at the site or anything, So I'm like a phone guy. I'm not an email and text message guy where, I interrupt it differently when I text it or somebody thinking something else. So I always call physically and talk to them, and she can vouch for that. I always call her to get up, meet me at the property and see what we need to correct,
Sure. So then the compliance date of April, I was saying, what?
Yeah.
I was like, April 18th, that was with our staff now, that you reached out
Yeah,
and said I didn't know it was
absolutely,
still running. Okay.
Yeah, we fixed a couple of things. Back in 23, that it was some stuff was in there, we did correct it, but then obviously when things getting older, start falling off and that, And another thing is Albert, he's my real estate guy. We're trying to sell the property, and there was a lot of time the homeless just comes there and just destroys the property, and we just spending money. And the reason why we didn't build anything because City of New Smyrna, they're taking forever to give us a permit. So we just dropped the whole project. That was a $5.5 million project, and we dropped it because they don't want to support the project at all, because they take 2.5 years to give us the civil permits, and then they want another $50,000 to review the other permits. It's like, we just keep, we're paying the mortgage as we speak, So we're just dumping the money on the property that we're not gaining, and we bought it to build the business.
So between October of 2023 and April of 2025, if you have real estate, do you have any photos of the property showing that it was in compliance, that it was in a better state than what I'm trying to do?
One thing I know that, I don't even mean to interrupt, but I do have the landscaping guys. He was doing the maintaining the property all the time, you know? We did put the barrier, that people can't go in, but they still break it and go in, park it, and they're trying to destroy it or do anything, you know? So I don't have any physical evidence, but I know that we were on it, you know? We were paying the landscaping guys and everything, so.
So staff has recommended reducing it by over half, by 55%, from 28,000, just over 28,000 to 12,800, without evidence of that date being wrong and maybe bumping you up to a higher percentage for the time to come into compliance. I don't have anything before me right now to show that the time frame for compliance is incorrect. And so, and it sounds like we may not have that, just based on the review. If the property is reduced by an amount today, you noted that it has to be paid within 15 days of this hearing for resolution, or it goes back to the full amount.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Because the only thing I was requesting, if they, you know, if they can consider it to, you know, reduce it to a little bit more lower, you know, because reason why, because we already spending almost, I'm paying $15,000 in mortgage every month, you know, plus the city already spent almost $30,000 in the civil drawing when they should have got me less than a year to get my permit done, you know, for the civil drawing. They took them 2.5 years. So technically, we're just dumping the money in the property where we can't even make the money. And, you know, we invest in the business to make money, you know, not to lose money.
May I ask you a question? You have it for sale, how much for?
Right now, we put it for, I think, 1.8 right now.
1.8 million?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
But in the consideration on that, we spent almost $200,000 in architecture drawing and all of that stuff. And plus on spending more on top of the building department, plus paying the mortgage and et cetera, you know. And we bought this back in 2020.
Okay. All right. Is there any other testimony you'd like to provide for review? Anyone else who'd like to speak? Yeah.
Yeah, so my name's Albert Amalfitano. I represent them and the property. And I can tell you that for the last year, it's been really difficult. There's police reports. I've actually made the police reports. We had during the last hurricanes, we had vagrants rip open the back door. I mean, they broke into the bank. I mean, they broke into the front door, they broke into the back door. All of that had to be replaced and fixed. They destroyed a lot of stuff on the inside. There's been graffiti. There's been all kinds of stuff. So, and I understand the fine, and I get it. I do. But he is in compliance. But it's been a revolving door of money and just, hey, you know what? Now, took all the hedges out of the front just so nobody could hide. We had somebody sleeping and hiding in the back, which we had to kick out. We had to firm up the security, so now there's a chain, so now you can't come in there and park, or because a couple weeks ago during one of the weekends it was open, so everybody just parked there for the beach, so it was free parking for everybody. And on top of that, you know, between like I said, the marquee is now fixed. I mean, that cost quite a bit of money, and that took a lot of time because being that high up on the beach, it's windy. He had to do that in 3 separate trips. So he had to rent that boom lift 3 different times. So, I mean, I understand where you guys are coming from with the fines, but I'm with him. I think that with the amount of money that was put into trying to keep it in compliance, and there's so much stuff that you guys don't even know that was out of compliance that we fixed, because when we went over there was more stuff to do. So it's like it's just been a lot, and I'm actually just throwing the mercy at you guys. Hey, look, what else could you do for them? Because it's been a money pit, and you know, we should have it, you know, hopefully under contract here by next week, but it's going to be more of a process, you know, if that, you know, once that happens, it's still another 30 to 90 days of maintaining this property still too. So we just kind of look for a little bit more leniency, because we're going to have to continue to maintain it while it's being listed and while it's being sold. So that's pretty much what I got.
Okay. So what I would say, and I think this would generally apply to most lien reviews, is to go beyond kind of the guidelines set by City Commission. There needs to be evidence of, in my mind, and this isn't a set rule, evidence of extreme cost that you put towards compliance. I understand you're saying the carrying cost of the property, but that something is either incorrect in this dating calculation, that you came into compliance faster, or that in addition to this, the cost to bring it into compliance exceeded, the reduction. So I'm going to suggest two options. One, you have staff saying we'll reduce it to over half, and I'm inclined to agree with their recommendation.
Can I ask you just a quick question? Like what, and I get they're reducing it to half. Now they're issuing fines and liens. And how did this adversely impact the city where they feel that they're due $13,000? I'm just curious.
So it's a standard.
Because it's not like you guys went there and painted the graffiti, cut the grass, trimmed all the hedges, fixed the marquee. By the way, Denny's is still looking nice. So I'm just kind of wondering where that money, how does that come about? Like, how do you guys configure that, there's $13,000 worth of fines here for absolutely nothing?
It's a policy question. I'll say it's set in state law, the maximum fine amounts are. The fine and lien in this case was set by a previous magistrate, so I don't recall the facts or what happened because I was not here. But we are looking at the lien as it exists today. And so the policy justification of code enforcement in general is if properties are not well maintained and well kept, it has an impact on the local government that they're located in, and that you get a value out of having a clean presentation, properly maintained properties for the overall city. That's not a factor in what we're discussing today, but I want to give you an answer there.
I mean, that paint that you guys were looking at was under the overhang. You can't even see that from the street. So I'm just kind of curious on, like, that you kind of had to go there and be like, oh, wow, the paint's chipped and missing. I'm just saying, that's kind of, to me, that's a reach. I mean, that's like, oh, the inside of the building, there's no toilet paper. So, I don't know. I'm just saying it seems like a reach for some of this stuff. That's all. And I do appreciate the reduction. I do. And I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm just trying to say that it's been a bear, and it's costing them a lot of money. And the cops are not hanging out there. The cops are not trespassing these people. I mean, like, I've called many times and nobody came over. I've had to go into that bank with my 38 just because I didn't know who was going to pop out wrapped in toilet paper and dog shit. So I mean, like, I'm just saying, it's been a wild ride. So
I've noted that. The facts of the former violation are not kind of before us in terms of the peeling paint and if it was visible or not. Can't really get into that. Back to my options. The staff is recommending a 55% reduction from 28,000 to 12,000. In the alternative, if you have evidence that one of these factors is incorrect, that you came into compliance faster, you have photos showing that it was maintained, you have extreme costs that you would like to present in terms of what it took to come into compliance for this violation.
And that needs to exceed what the violation is that what you're saying?
I can't say that until it's before me, but there's no evidence right now before us. And I understand that this process can be confusing, and you only get one review of this. And so we can either proceed with the 55,000 recommendation by staff, or we can have you guys come back to the next meeting, maybe get some more evidence together that you'd like to submit, and we would review that in light. But then it could change the outcome. It could be that it's a lesser reduction because it was not a burden to fix and it took a long time. I don't know that because it's not before me. So I will get input from you guys on what you'd recommend, what you'd request as the.
Is that something that needs to be decided like right now?
Right now.
This would hold up any contract for sale, though.
We would just hold up a closing, and we wouldn't hold up a contract.
It would hold up the closing,
Yeah.
exactly. Or they would pay the lien as the full amount in the closing.
I mean, the liens would be satisfied by closing anyway, but, what do you want to do? The half? Because I don't think we really have evidence showing.
Yeah, I don't have, but,
Okay.
obviously the inspector from 2023, she didn't finish the file,
Do we know about that? The inspector that did that from 23, that started everything? Everything's complete?
If you had emails or something from them, we'd review it, but we have no evidence in the record of being told it was in compliance before this date in 2025. We've got the record before us. Yep.
I would like to state that I met Mr. Mattel myself on site several times and pointed out the violations. That is exactly how we've seen the peeling paint. because I met him on site, walked the property with him, and pointed out the violations that still existed. So whatever you take into consideration, I feel that we are being more than lenient with this, and I really don't feel that they should be able to bring something back to show that they were in compliance when I know for a fact, I was there several times, the property was not in compliance.
Okay, that's fine. I guess he will do just the reduction and pay it and be done.
And why we wanted to give the choice is because this is a final action. You only get one chance, right? So this is where the testimony and evidence should be provided. So then based on the evidence in the record and the testimony provided, I will agree with staff's recommendation of a 55% reduction based on the guidance provided by the City Commission. The new lien amount will be $12,819 to be paid within 15 days of this action, or the lien reverts back to the full amount. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item here is LA 0006-2025, 430 Bouchelle Drive.
This property is 430 Bouchelle Drive, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Jill Fuller, representative for Bouchelle XXV1 COA, submitted a lien amnesty request for the special magistrates to consider the leniency for the lien filed by the city against the property located at 430 Bouchelle Drive, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. The unpaid city lien totaled $39,165.39. This is including interest through the end of May. The notice of hearing was posted on the property on April 30th, 2025. The certified mail for the hearing was accepted on May 5th, 2025. Some background on the property. On May 13th, 2024, the property was inspected by the fire inspector. The property was found in violation of City Code Section 42-13, violations, code enforcement, hazard abatement. On July 24th, 2024, Code Compliance received notice from the fire inspector requesting a notice of violation for this property. On July 25th, 2024, a notice of violation was issued identifying specific violations with code compliance date of August 15th, 2024. On August 28th, 2024, the special magistrate found the property in violation of City Code Section 42-13, violations, code enforcement, hazard abatement. On October 27th, 2024, the property remained in violation of the board order, and a fine of $250 per day was imposed commencing on October 11th, 2024. The property was found in compliance on February 18th, 2025, the fine totaling $37,000 for a total of 148 days of noncompliance.
Just for the record, can you provide a summary of the fire violations that were the basis?
I don't know that I have, yeah, I have an order here. So the fire code violations, there was a sprinkler system that was not working. They have not worked on sprinkler system or keys that were needed. I believe there was a fire code lockbox. Herman can give you a little bit more background. He had presented this case at the special magistrate hearing.
It was mainly the fire sprinkler, and that it hadn't been properly maintained, and also I believe the keys for the Knox box, so the fire department can have access once they go through there.
Got it. Thank you. Is the property owner present? Would you like to speak to this item?
Do you want me to finish, or you want?
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Not yet.
No, you're good.
Yep.
So again, going through the factors to take into consideration, the violation date was August 28th, 2024. compliance date was February 18th, 2025. Total days of noncompliance was 148 days. The total fine with the interest, the fine was $37,000. The interest was $2,165.39, totaling $39,165.39. The factors taken into consideration is violator of 25%, which was $9,791.35. The second was the time to come into compliance was from 6 to 12 months, which is an additional 20%, which totaled $7,833.08. And there had been previous cases on this property. They brought the property into compliance without a hearing for the first case. After this case, we did have another case reported to us. However, we didn't pursue that case because the lien was already on the property. So the minimum lien amount would be $21,540.96, and that's with taking all the factors into consideration. So my recommendation is to reduce the fine to $21,540.96. The reduction factors taken into consideration are the 25% for violator and 20% for complying within the 6 to 12 months.
Perfect. Thank you. Apologies. Now, if the property owner is present, would like to speak, come forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Attorney Kim Booker, here on behalf of South Atlantic Communities, which is the property manager for this property. I have public records request that was done on May 6th, which contains copies of the records of this proceedings in the past. I'd like one to have the copies of these documents as a composite exhibit attached to the record, because I'll be referring to them also as well.
Sure.
I don't know if you want.
Do you have 2 copies or just one?
See them?
Is there just one full set?
That's one full set, yes.
And before you go further, just for the record, we're not here to relitigate the case. We're here just on the lien amnesty. So any relevant factors to the lien amnesty.
I understand, but there's a significant and substantial lack of due process in this case because the property manager from January was not properly noticed, and in the documentation it's clear also that the violation was not clearly identified. So the determinations, there was evidence in that file that the notice was not served for the August or September hearings to the party that wasn't involved with the management company anymore.
I'll let the special magistrate speak to this, but just for your knowledge, the appeal process for that is through circuit court within 30 days of that order.
I understand that, but when you don't have notice of it until after that appeal period has expired, they didn't have notice of the violations until January, when a new notice of the violation was sent out January 25th to the current property manager, South Atlantic Communities. That notice pertained to the keys for the elevator, which we have one of the property managers here to attest. The keys for the elevator have always been on a key set hanging on the wall and at the property. The reference to the sprinkler system, it's simply in the order, it says, have not worked on the sprinkler system or keys yet. In the report, in the inspection, it refers to inspection that was committed or done on inspection number 5. It refers to a problem with a sprinkler. That's it. It doesn't refer, which I think they actually meant a standpipe or a lens on a sprinkler system, because there were communications verbally about that. But in that report, it doesn't identify an action required with reference to the sprinkler system. So there was no action required regarding a sprinkler system, although the order refers vaguely to a work that was to be done to a sprinkler system. So the overall order, notice, hearings are all lacking in due process. They weren't served on the proper party, despite there's emails where an inspection report was sent September 25th when the hearing was held on September 25th. It was sent at 11:10 from the city. On September 25th at 2 p.m. the hearing was held. There was no discussion with the current property manager that the hearing was occurring on September 25th. And that's the hearing that they found these things in violation, the continued violation of the key wasn't put into the Knox box, and the sprinkler system had not been worked on. But again, there was no citation regarding a sprinkler system in the report. It's referenced in inspection number 5, but it talks about an August date on the keys, but it doesn't have a date at the end of the report to say when inspection number 5 occurred. It goes immediately from 4th to 6th.
Special Magistrate, my only concern is we're going to relitigate this case. The city is not prepared to make these arguments. And again, I don't believe jurisdiction is here. Jurisdiction is in the circuit court. So these are not arguments to be relevant to a lien amnesty. So either we need to continue this case to make a decision whether jurisdiction is going to be here, but I believe Florida statute makes it very clear as well, the order, the jurisdiction was circuit court regarding what your arguments are. I'm not saying your arguments aren't valid. I'm just saying you're in the wrong jurisdiction at this point in time. We are here for a lien amnesty, so I am unprepared. The city is unprepared.
Okay.
And at this point in time, you either need to argue the lien amnesty and throw your mercy on the court if you want a reduction, or withdraw it and we can have a different conversation.
Okay,
I don't want you to go
one
through
other point, though. The original inspection report says that the inspection will not occur until June 13, 2025. So they were given until June 13, 2025 in the original report, although it didn't make it anywhere, to cure.
I'm almost certain that would have been a typo. But again, like the city attorney has noted, this is not the proper venue for this argument. That has been decided. The appeal process, if there are notice issues, perhaps there's
Significant
concerns
notice
there.
issues. The other, as to the lien amnesty application, I mean, I do think it's still an equitable consideration. The calculation, in my opinion, they should be treated as a new owner, not the violator. They never received notice, although they had regular daily conversations practically regarding other buildings in Bouchelle as well as this building. And were never informed until January when one of the inspectors says, you know, you have a fine. That was the first notice that they had of a fine. And then the city re-noticed them at the proper address, even though the request for the invoices and the payment were still sent February 19th to the wrong address, despite it being in public record that it had been changed.
So before we dive too deeply into that, I do just want to, I think there are two paths, right? You can provide that evidence to us in the lien amnesty context, but I think if the lien amnesty undergoes review and is approved, I'm not giving you legal advice, you are an attorney and you're a property owner, but I think if you want to make the argument that there was an issue in the process, this is not the place to do it, and proceeding under this with those facts weighing in on the level of reduction may foreclose some of those other options for you. And so I just want to make sure that the intent of the parties, if it is to proceed with this evidence as justification for a further reduction under the lien amnesty, or if you would like to pursue this in a different jurisdiction.
I would like to request a continuance so we can have further discussion and make a determination.
Okay.
Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Yes. And do you
And
have
feel free to reach out to myself to have a conversation.
The next hearing is July. We don't meet in June. And so would a continuance to July give you time to discuss and choose a path forward?
Can I request, and I know they probably might not be happy with this, but I am out of state in July. Can we move it to the next one?
The lien amnesty application process is a benefit to the owner, so it's at your discretion, so we can. Yeah.
Okay. So August.
August?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
So then I'm going to return these just for now because we're not hearing the case.
Yeah.
What?
Do you want to keep them?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll keep those.
Okay. Then we will give these to the city attorney for review. And And what we will do for this case is we will continue this item to the August special magistrate hearing. Do we have the date of that?
Yes.
August special magistrate date is the 27th.
Perfect. To the August 27th city magistrate to be heard again if it's brought back forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to what I believe is our last lien amnesty application. That is lien amnesty 0005-2025 for 1270 Kennard Street.
Adonna Sullivan, she's the new property owner for the property located at 1270 Kennard Street. She has requested a lien amnesty to be considered by the special magistrate for leniency for the lien filed by the city against the property located at 1270 Kennard Street, New Smyrna Beach. The unpaid city lien totals, there's a lot of totals here. I think it's easier maybe if we just go over each one individually. Just a little bit of background. This property is located in the unincorporated area of the city of New Smyrna. These fines came about when we had a inter-service boundary agreement with Volusia County, and we were enforcing their codes in the ISBA area. We had a case, I'm going to read it as I have it in the background. Case number 2021-0090. The property was found in violation of Volusia County Code Section 58-36, violation and declaration of a nuisance. Special magistrate imposed the fine to be paid by the respondent in the amount of $1,000 per day commencing on March 8th, 2021 until compliance is achieved. The special magistrate also stated that this property is a serious threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and then authorized the city to abate the nuisance. On April 5th, 2021, the nuisance was abated by a contract that the city has with a contractor to abate nuisance properties. The total cost for that abatement was $6,450. Prior to that, we also had a case in 2017, case numbers 2017-15633. On November 21st, 2017, the Citizens Code Enforcement Board found the respondent did not comply to the board order from the August 17th, 2017 hearing, giving until November 7th, 2017 to bring the property into full compliance. The property remained in violation of City Code Section 58-36, and a fine of $25 per day was imposed commencing on November 7th, 2017. The fine capped at $10,000. We also had a case in 2020, case numbers 2020-19145. On May 27, 2020, the special magistrate entered an order finding the respondent had repeatedly violated Volusia County Code Section 58-36, violation and declaration of nuisance, and imposed a fine of $1,000 per day. The fine commenced on May 8th, 2020, and was imposed until the property achieved full compliance. Special magistrate also stated the property was in serious threat to the public health, safety, and welfare, and authorized the city of New Smyrna to abate the nuisance. The fine was capped at $10,000. We also had a case in 2019, case number 2019-18577. On November 25th, 2019, the special magistrate entered an order finding the respondent had repeated violating Volusia County Code Section 58-36, violation and declaration of a nuisance, and imposed a fine of $1,000 per day commencing on November 14th, 2019, until compliance was achieved. The special magistrate also stated that the property is a serious threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and authorized the city to abate the nuisance. On December 4th, 2019, the city had the nuisance abatement contractor go over and abate the nuisance, and the cost to the city was $4,700. The fine commencing on November 14th, 2019 for $1,000 per day was kind of brought into compliance by the city abating the nuisance, but the fine did cap at $10,000. At that time, it was a total of $24,000. So with that being said, for case number 2021-00-90, the violation date was 3/8/2021, and the fine was capped. The city went in, as I stated, and abated the nuisance a couple of times. There was a third time that we considered going in, but as we were taking that into consideration to move forward, more stuff kept coming to the property, so that's when we ended up taking it back to the special magistrate. So for case number 0090, the fine was $10,000. The interest was $4,010.97 for a lien total of $14,010.97. Taking into consideration that this is a new owner, there's a 50% of $7,005.49. The nuisance abatement cost at the city's expense was $66,450. The interest is $2,499.82, with that totaling $8,949.82. Do you want me to just go through each one and then give my recommendation of the total amount?
That's perfect.
Okay. So the next case is 2020-15633. Again, the lien was capped at $10,000. The interest rate is $8,276.61. The lien amount is $18,276.61. Taken into consideration the 50%, that reduction would be $9,138.26. Case number 2020-19145. Again, this was capped. The violation was 5/27/2020. It was capped at $10,000. The interest is $4,973.56. The lien totaled $14,973.56. The new owner, 50% would be $7,486.78. Case number 2020-18577. Violation date is 11/25/2019. City capped the lien at $10,000. The interest is $5,558.79. Lien totaling $15,558.79. We also had nuisance abatement cost on this case. The cost for the nuisance abatement was $4,700. The interest is $2,565.79, totaling $7,265.79. And that nuisance abatement was on 12/4/2019. So with all that being said, with the total for case number 0090, with taking the 50% for the new owner would be $13,455. The capped lien for case number 15633 would be $9,128.35. The capped lien for 19145 would be $7,486.78. For case number 18577, the capped lien would be $779.39. The nuisance abatement lien would be $4,700. The only thing that we can reduce on nuisance abatement would be the interest. So my total reduction amount, if approved, would be $36,485.53. That's taking into consideration the 50% for the new owner and the interest amount for each lien. The adjustments were made based on the guidelines adopted by the City Commission. The amount would have to be paid 15 business days if approved.
And for the record, this was brought in compliance by Volusia County itself.
Yes.
They demolished it and brought it into compliance.
Yes. The property actually looks amazing right now.
That's good.
Vacant property is easier, right? That's
Much
Good.
easier.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that overview. As the property owner present, would you like to speak to this item? If you'll just state your name and affiliation with the property when you come forward.
Donna Sullivan, owner of 1270 Kennard. The property is only worth $34,000. Why are the liens against the property, not against the person that created the mess, who is mentally ill, by the way? My father is mentally ill. I can't afford to pay $34,000. I mean, they demolished it. They took all of his stuff. Like, what more do they want? I just want to put a little trailer for me and my 4 kids so we can actually have something, because I can't afford to pay nobody else's mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, $36,000, it's 0.9 acres. It's nothing. I keep it mowed. I got the trucks off of there. There's one trailer that has a tag on it for storage. That's it. I don't understand. I can't afford that. And not in 15 days. I was trying to do the right thing and get a payment plan, you know, in something that I could afford monthly. But I called, are you Barbara? I've called you multiple times on the phone, and when I first spoke to you, you said that there was $9,645. And then when I put in this lien amnesty, then there was $304,000 because he was fined $1,000 for 304 days. And all this stuff started coming up. I mean, I took on a lot of baggage. I paid my dad for that property. I don't know, and that's it? That's the last thing is $36,000?
I think it's above.
And for the record, just so that you are aware, because there is a lot of history on this property, this did get a reduction based on the fact that we capped the lien. So at one point in time, I believe it was $120,000 on each property for different liens. I believe he was also charged with dumping. So he received a misdemeanor criminal charge or a felony charge and was placed on probation to try to clean it up. So a lot of things did go on with this property based on the condition that it was in. I understand her argument of the value of the property, which is something you can take into consideration. But the city would at least need to get back its nuisance abatement aspect of it.
Which there were so many numbers, I don't even know what number that was.
Right, so the total right now, just to go over it and we can discuss, of the total for all of the liens, under the staff recommended reduction of 50% to the things that they can reduce in their review, would be a total of $42,550.01. That's reducing it by the $36,485.53. There are other factors. We could look at the insurance, or not the insurance, the interest on the nuisance abatements. That's $2,000 and $2,000. That's another $4,000. But whatever we decide here does have that time frame attached to it of the 15 days, or it reverts back fully. And so I want you to have the opportunity to, this request is you coming to us, right? The factors that we've applied here won't change. They're set in stone. And so if right now is perhaps not the best time to hear this for you, and I don't know, Barbara, if you want to speak, we can always look at it again as well to give you time to kind of pull things together and talk about. I have not seen as a general practice going beyond that 15 days, except in rare circumstances, right?
Just for your knowledge, I think this is what Ms. Barb was going to speak to is, one, I would suggest a continuance, and here's the reason why. Bring us your property values so that we can see what that is, so it's evidence to show that the liens are exceeding the property value. On top of it, we do have the ability to do a payment plan that is in special circumstances. It probably requires a little bit more information from you so that we can set up a payment plan that is successful for you. If you were to miss a payment, though, it then goes back to the original fine. So we want to make sure that if we do the payment plan, so you don't miss it and we don't revert back to the original fine. Now, the balance of what you paid will come off that original fine, but it is going to revert back. If you do feel that you would be able to make, if we were to reduce it to whatever, take what the city is currently offering, consider that it may get less, we don't know, If you would be able to pay that within 15 days, it's probably better, but I also understand that's a lot of money in 15 days. But those are things to consider, and I think continuing it would be the best option so we could discuss with Barb a little bit further.
Okay.
And I believe the payment plan is typically for 3 years.
Okay.
So that's something that we can take into consideration as well, if that works best for the property owner.
So that would be over 36 months, right? 36 lump payments.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and I'm saying that not because that's what we're deciding today, because I think we need to come back to this. But I think getting, like it was noted by the city attorney, more background on the property value, the ability to pay, a requested payment plan and what that looks like are all things that we can look at because we want to find a path forward here. There are some hard costs that we can't waive, which is the nuisance abatement. So that was, I just want to make sure I have it completely right. One, I'm ignoring the interest for now, but one is $6,450, and I think the other one was the same, was $4,700. So no matter what, those will have to be covered because those are
Okay.
hard costs to the city. And the remainder balance between those are what we can come back and talk about with evidence of value, ability to pay, the payment plan structure.
Okay, that sounds good.
In terms of timing, we can continue it to our July hearing if you think the next month and a half is enough to get in touch with Barbara and talk through that payment plan, or we can go farther out. This is your application. So.
I mean, let's just do August, because I heard you say you come back in August, just to give me that little bit of time. Because I don't know who to reach out to. I've been trying, I've showed up here multiple times, like I did this, I don't even know what this is. I just I had the $100, so I did it, But, okay, so August. And I think I have in here the value of the property, because I caught up all of the taxes. I spent all of my income tax and all of my extra savings and caught up all the taxes on the property. And the last one says the value of $34,000. So,
And
providing that evidence of how
Right.
much you paid in taxes and stuff like that will go a long way.
yeah, that's
Right.
what's in this.
I would say
folder.
any evidence like that of it was 10 years behind in taxes and we paid all of that and here's what the cost.
yeah, I
that
did
is
that.
all helpful.
And two, the ones that I have in here are what have my name. I didn't know I was paying the taxes from my dad. And so 2 years prior to these ones say his name, but they were not from him. They were from me. I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? He was kind of just taking advantage of a little bit, so. All right, who do I give this stuff to?
So
We'll have you
you'll
talk with Barb.
I would say
Okay.
hold it for now. Barbara can take it for those discussions. The August date is August 27th, I believe is what we said earlier.
Correct.
Okay, August 27th. So we'll come back before then if you want to work with Barbara to get that information. Anything you give to her that says, I want this to be a part of the hearing, I'll get a
Okay.
copy of so that then we'll be able to review it all together and kind of talk about it.
Okay, is it at 2 o'clock on the 27th?
It is at 2 o'clock on the 27th.
Perfect, I'm gonna put that on my phone. Thank you.
Of course. All right, so then with that, what we will do with this case is we will continue it to the August 27th special magistrate hearing for review at that time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we are done with lien amnesties. Any staff reports today?
We had enough.
Nothing? All right, and nothing further from me, so then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.